Hey everyone, welcome to Devil Podcast episode 117. This week I got Kevin, my dad, Colin, and David. We're going to be talking about, the impacts of things that are going on around the world and how it affects collecting and movies. So, very, very interesting time for being a nerd and collector and maybe rethinking and evaluating our process of what our hobbies are. Because, maybe we need to invest in other things, but yeah. How you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah, it's another day ending in Y.
Yeah. Luckily, there's only 7 of those.
Yeah,
but those are only
they
7
keep repeating though.
Yeah, it's like Groundhog's Day.
7 days a week, 24 days.
Mm-hmm. Any updates? What have you guys been doing? Playing? Watching? Maybe?
I've been doing a rewatch of Death Note. I'm up to episode 11. There was a lot of stuff I missed on my last watch, so I'm glad I started it again. So, and I'm actually really able to sit down and enjoy it this time.
Nice.
That's one of the ones I always heard people talk about, and then it was like, once who is it? Because it's Light is the main character, but the first L, right? L's the first guy that
the first
is up against him. Yeah, and then everyone's like, yeah, once he goes away, it's kind of downhill from there. I was like, okay. Do y'all? I guess of any of y'all that have watched Death Note, do you agree? Is that fair? That once L kind of bites the dust, you're like, it's fine to tap out.
Yeah, it was never my forte as far as I've watched it, but mostly because of the kids wanting to watch it. All of them going, "Oh, you got to see this! You got to see this!" And then when I watch it, I'm like, they're more excited about it than I am.
I mean, I own it on Blu-ray. I've watched maybe 15 episodes, but it's never. It wasn't like my thing. I mean, does it have like giant robots or police taking on cybernetic criminals? I'm looking at Ghost in the Shell over there.
I mean, it's got a good procedural undercurrent to it.
Yeah.
You know, which is good because it's a base, because then it gets into the oddball stuff when you have L and all of his back and forth and everything like that, and then of course you bring in the supernatural element with the Shinigami, and it's just kind of it's like it's like a David Lynch stew. So
okay, I do like Lynch, so yeah, I never really watched much of Death Note. And it feels like it would be one that I'd like, because I like all sorts of weirder things. Or
there's plenty of weirdness, and there's a lot of good twists and turns. And if you've never seen it, some of it you'll be able to telegraph out, but some of it, because they play up a lot of drama and suspense, but they ultimately basically give away what they're going to do at some point. But when you start getting to episode 10, that's when a new character is introduced. It kind of throws a curveball in it for a little bit. So,
okay. Yeah, I've watched the last anime I watched in its entirety, which was, I think, 10 episodes, 8 episodes, was Kaiju number 8. And then
that's an excellent.
I love that one. That one was great. And then I tried to watch Chainsaw Man, and it was just a little bit too woo for me. And so I was like, yeah, I'll give it another shot, because I did like it a little bit, but there was just too much of the extracurricular, if you will, for my taste. And that's weird, because when High School of the Dead was a big thing, I was like really into that, and that was very similar.
The boot bullet dodge will never get old.
No, never. I mean, when I first saw that, and I think I was watching it with my girlfriend at the time, and she really loved it too. She was like, "This is amazing." I was like, agreed. Outside of that, I'm not going to speak on it. We talked a little bit about it before the podcast started, but like Thunderbolts, I did enjoy it. I think it's one of Marvel's better outings as of recent. I mean, at least as far as how it how I connected to it. It's got a lot of heart. I mean, with those characters and the amount of, I would say, collective trauma they've experienced throughout the movies, you could imagine where this movie kind of goes. Yeah.
So, since you brought it up, I was talking to somebody and they were trying to compare it to Guardians of the Galaxy, and I mean, I would see it more as Suicide Squad.
100%. Not Guardians at all, in my opinion.
Okay. I was going to say, because this is not a movie that you're going to want to have a whole lot of comedy in.
No.
Just the situations can be comical, and especially the way like Red Guardian would react.
Yes.
Those are going to be where your humor is going to come from. But it just seems like it should be a more serious film, you know?
Yeah, so it does have that undercurrent of like, you know, these are people who have done some really dastardly things in their lifetime, and they're like, and some of them that are, you know, maybe a little washed up or past their prime, you know, those types of things. And the undertone of like being unfulfilled is like, so that's not a funny topic, right? Everybody can kind of relate to like the overall the overall feeling of like not knowing where they fit in. So there's an undertone of that, but there is some humor, not a lot. It's not overwhelming, but there's a lot of heart, and there's a lot of surprisingly, it does. I think it draws more parallels to Suicide Squad than Guardians for sure.
Yeah, because it's kind of like supposed to be a redemption arc.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll leave it at that because, you know, no spoilers.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping to go see it Friday. So,
I've been trying to mixing through between watching some old films, trying to clear up my Netflix queue, which is huge. And then watching some of the. I just recently watched My Hero, the newest film that I missed at the theater. I'm glad I saw it. Last time I tried to watch it, it was in subtitle, and I didn't want to watch. I didn't. My eyes are bad, so I don't try to keep up with subtitles anymore. But this was a dub, and so it was really great, and I really enjoyed it. It made me hungry for the next season.
Mm-hmm. Is that almost over? Like, because they're in the.
It's got like 2 more seasons.
Oh, okay.
Whether they do those back to back and we get it all in, you know, a year, 2 years, I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I unfortunately kind of stopped following along with it. I felt bad, just lost track, right? Just no time, all that stuff. Got off on other things, and I keep meaning to come back to it. And I know how it ends because the manga's over. I just don't know where the anime is sitting at, so need to get back on that. Let's see here. My son has been getting back into Fire Force because season 3 just came out. I still need to go back and finish season 2 because that show's great. And then in the chat, I made the comment a couple days ago about how I watched the that new Gundam show, however the hell you pronounce it, the G a million U's Q, yeah, that one. And yeah, I absolutely hated the first episode. Like, I could not stand that first episode at all. Like, it was the most abysmal first episode watching experience I've had in a while. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and get through at least the next couple episodes and see where this goes. And then the next episode was fine because it was all like, oh hey, we're just gonna retell the first couple episodes of the OG Gundam, but in this new art style, and Char is gonna destroy everybody. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, I can get along with that. And then I don't know if like that imbued enough goodwill in me that I was able to get through the next couple episodes. It's like, oh, okay, I don't completely hate everything about this now, but I don't know, man. I'm not. It's not won me over yet.
It's bad when you have to. You start this story. The first episodes will go well, so you start changing things to bring in nostalgia bait, from the previous Gundam series with this new animation? And
I mean, in fairness, right? It's like it's because of the fact that they did the Man in the High Castle thing, right? It's the what if Xeon won? So you need to establish at some point the okay, we know how it played out in the version that we've gotten all this time. So what does it actually look like for Xeon to win? Just Char being slightly more competent than he already was, right? Which is kind of funny. So I give them that they needed to show it, but in time I'm like, man, I just, you can suffer through mediocre or bad shows, or at least I can, if I can find at least a character to latch onto, right? Like someone that is interesting, has something, cool going on with them, or just anything that I can kind of like, okay, this is the character I'm going to follow through this, and I want to see what happens to them, where it goes. Everyone else be damned, I don't care.
Have y'all been watching any of the Star Wars videos or stuff that was done for the 4th? It's amazing that creative people can do something better with the material than someone like Disney who has all the money in the world. I mean,
like the Princess Bride sword, the lightsaber fight in that one.
Oh, but yeah, with Inigo and
Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yeah, I saw that.
That one was really good. There were 2 or 3 of them that had lightsaber fights that were just. There was a Bruce Lee one that had his nunchucks become
lightsabers. The nunchucks. That was awesome.
That was great.
So. Yeah. So, David, anything else you've been watching or anything?
Other than Gundam and whatever came across before my internet took crap on it. No. At the beginning of every month, there's a new Last Drive-In with Joe Bob, and they showed City of the Dead, which was kind of interesting. It's an old Christopher Lee movie that I hadn't heard of, but there's a quote at the very beginning of the movie that the second I heard it, Dragula started playing, because it's the quote at the very beginning of Dragula, right? Of what superstition, fear, and jealousy, right? Like that bit. I'd never looked up where that came from, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like doing other stuff. The movie's playing. Like Joe Bob did his whole spiel, and then the movie fired up, and then I'm like, oh, hey, cool, Christopher Lee. And then a little bit later, all of a sudden, I hear that quote, and I was like, oh, I found it. I found it, guys. Here we go. Here's the movie. So that was pretty cool. And then they showed The Ring after that. That was the 2 movies they showed on the last episode of Joe Bob. So that was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, I decided to fire up Persona 5 because I feel bad that I've had that game forever. And I'm like, I've never beaten it. So now I just have like okay, here's how I min-max my way through every single day, right? Like, this is what I need to do to maximize this playthrough just so I can, because, man, I saw somebody posted a thing where it was like, I put 42,000 hours into this game. I'm like, I don't have time for that. Like, I need to get where I need to go and be done with this and move on to the next one.
I mean, the music is great, but but like, man, there's just so much going on. If you do not know what you're doing,
and it is so easy to get behind. Like and it's crazy because the game actively makes you want to go do certain things, but then you go read all the guides, and it's like, yeah, the game wants you to like go into the Underdark, right, and go and like do this little mini dungeon. But every single guide is like, no, you actually need to go equip this one specific persona and go talk to the weird nurse lady and do her little thing. Because if you don't do that, then you don't get the Death Arcana up to a certain point at a certain moment in the story, and it throws everything off. I was like, the game actively encourages you not to do the most, but I mean, that's the way min-maxing works, right? Like, min-maxing is all about just do not go with feels. It is all about just autistic levels of sticking to the formula to make the best possible thing you can. Like, cut out all the fat, all the enjoyment, just focus on the objective, right?
So, the City of the Dead, which one? Because there's been several movies. with that name, but I don't think I've seen any of them with Christopher Lee. I'm trying to remember which one it is.
It was with so the whole backstory of it is that there's a town where they did witch hunts, and they killed one of them who was a real witch, and she cursed the town. And so it was made around the same time as Psycho.
Okay.
And what was funny was they do a similar thing to Psycho. So
Is it called Horror Hotel? Also?
Yes, that's the alternate title for it is Horror Hotel, but it's from 1960. And yeah, it's Christopher Lee. People show up to this town that's become, the entire town is basically a bunch of witches. They all have to sacrifice a certain number of people every year to like maintain their immortality and all that stuff. And so it's just this lady who is researching witchcraft.
There's a big what is it called? Like the coven at the end. There's like an orgy kind of sacrifice thing towards the end of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's most witch movies, but yeah. But the great thing about
I remember the movie.
It's
but the cool
witch movie.
So the weird way, and it was really actually a pretty well shot scene. The way that they defeat the witches is there's like this old crazy priest who's in the one church that's in town, and his daughter is the next one to be sacrificed. And the witches like mortally wound him. So as he's dying, he's like telling this random kid, he's like, "You have to use the shadow of the cross on them." It's like, it's nighttime. How does that make sense? But they make it work somehow. This dude gets like, the witches are tearing people apart, man. This guy gets stabbed in the back while he's trying to go grab this humongous cross, and he ends up still picking it up and then just dragging it through this cemetery. And the witches like run up to him and then just immediately catch fire and run away because I guess they fell under the shadow or whatever it is. It was one of the weirder and more entertaining end results to a movie of being able to defeat the big bad in that way.
So is he Shikamaru?
Basically,
from Naruto, like he's just like using his shadow to like create a shadow.
Does Kevin have it up? Because if I remember right, it's supposed to look and kind of feel like a Hammer film, but it was made by
it is
one of the guys who worked for Hammer and went off and created his own studio.
Yeah,
that's like
I had it up. I don't have it up anymore.
Yeah, no, that's what you're describing, because that's what Joe Bob talked about. It was a group that wanted to basically get into competing with Hammer. Let's see here. Produced by Seymour S. Dorner, Max Rosenberg. Here's the company. Distributed by British Lion, and production company is Vulcan. So Vulcan, I know. I don't know some movies about them, but yeah, that was the idea, is that they were trying to compete with Hammer, and so they went and they like formed their own little production company between these two different guys, and I think that was if I remember the bits that Joe Bob was talking about, that was like the first movie.
Yeah, that was their first.
They put together and threw out, which was sad because there's a twist that happens in the middle of it, right? And by the time the movie came out, there was a different thriller that came out that was shooting whenever they were done. But because that movie released before them, everyone was like, "Oh, were you ripping off this other movie with what you did?" and everybody was, and apparently, like, the guys who did the movie were really upset with that being constantly questioned. Like, no, we did it first.
I haven't seen that movie forever.
So,
well, if you have Shudder, go fire it up, and you get to also listen to Joe Bob's wonderful commentary.
Yeah, I had Shudder for a while. I don't have it right now. I'm gonna get it again.
I thought they like loop Shudder in with other streaming services.
It was part of
usually.
Yeah.
And what I think, if you have like AMC Plus, I think it also gets bundled in with it.
I think it was the AMC Plus. Yeah.
So I've been watching. I started watching Twin Peaks. I'm on episode 6. It's been the one thing I can tell you, because I haven't seen the show since I was a kid. I remember watching it with you, Dad. but like the acting is so over the top. It's so over exaggerated. It's like they tried to go for that soap opera feel, but with more serious horror tones. And it's like everybody's sleeping with everybody. I mean, it's literally just a soap opera with Kyle MacLachlan and the one villain in from RoboCop plays the dad of the daughter that gets killed.
Very wise.
Yeah, it's just like. But this is the inspiration for Alan Wake. I mean, and quite a few other horror set.
It felt like there was a year where there was about 3 or 4 like Twin Peaks knockoffs, and two of them starred David Tennant because there was a British one, and then they brought the British one to America, and both of them starred David Tennant.
Well, one of them? He's a seaside village. He's a detective. Yes. Yeah. Okay. What is that one called? Chapel something or something like that. That was pretty good. I watched it on for BBC One when they were re-airing, or what is it? They're BBC America. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I've never seen it, but I need to check it out. But I don't know. There's only 8 episodes in the first season, and then like the second season has, I think, 14 or 22 episodes, and then there's the later on the 2007.
The Return is the third.
Yeah. So I'll get through all that. It's been a while. But what else? Been working my way through Metal Gear 5 again. Man, it's been 10 years since that game came out. So
you need to get back to
Days Gone.
Days Gone, yeah. Get back.
I'm gonna play that again on Thursday, and then actually, what was cool was I ended up getting the card from my buddy Edwin to finish up my pie. So being able to play AVP, Alien vs. Predator, the Jaguar version, just a little bit has been great, nostalgic. So I can't wait that's one of the things I'm going to be streaming at some point.
Yeah, you needed to send me the information so I can buy mine and help you.
I'll just send you the same information I got to buy what I did, my receipt for it. And then you just need to get the same card, and then when I come down, we can do the copy of the files over. You just plug it in.
That was incredible how many games that you had.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't make it halfway through the list.
No, there's like more than 10,000 games on there. I mean, so arcade all the way up to
computer,
Dreamcast. I mean, even like it even has like the Amiga and all that stuff on there. Even the Virtual Boy, so you get all that red vector graphics and everything.
It was a couple years ago, and Capcom broke my heart because I forget what year it was, but they announced that big dumb Capcom shaped controller. Yeah. And it had the AVP arcade game on it. And I was like, yes, I'm going to have a big, dumb, stupid Capcom-shaped controller thing somewhere in my house. But I want it just because I want to go back and play AVP.
Yeah.
Because you just can't get it anywhere, right? Unless you go and dig up the old systems or mod them or whatever, emulate and all that stuff. It was like, I would really like to play Alien vs. Predator. And then it never came stateside. And I was like, damn you, Capcom.
Yeah, hey, Capcom, I'll pay you the $250 you were selling that god awful arcade for. It was just a freaking giant arcade stick that said the word Capcom on it with different, like, you had 2 different arcade stick. I mean, the sticks and the buttons. And it had like maybe 25 games on there, and it was the only way that you could get officially Alien vs. Predator arcade version.
It was a horrible design, but I was willing to fall on that sword, right? It would be worth it, and then never. And then they started doing all the announcements of, here's the beat 'em up collection and our fighting game collection that's got. And I was like, are we getting it? Is this it? Nope, not yet. God, rights, man.
I mean, you think about it, the library of, for one, beat 'em ups that they could be adding into one arcade. Because even like when they did the, what was it that there was that service? It was the arcade Stadium or whatever.
Yeah.
Packing it, like, had all their arcade stuff, but Alien vs. Predator. So you still couldn't even get it there.
It's got to be a rights issue, right? Like something.
Come on,
Break 'em
there's an
Break 'em
Alien
apart,
movie, Alien TV show, a Predator movie, a Predator TV show. Come on, just get the rights again. Release this. Get people nostalgic about it, and people will buy it.
If we can get the Snyder cut, we should be able to get AVP.
Yeah, I want to go around as Dutch with a robotic arm, fighting aliens, punching them in the face.
I just remember the Predator taking off his mask, right, and like looking into the sky, and then just lightning raining down everywhere and killing everything. It's like, yes,
That was in the startup where you see each character, right? That animation stuff.
Yeah.
It's just great. That is fantastic.
It's a
But
long game too.
When I saw the Ghostbusters, that and Terminator games on there, all of them, I was like, man, I could just sit here till time for me to go and just play some of this stuff.
I was able to order Expedition 33, David.
Yeah.
So that should be coming in anytime, like probably either Friday, if not Saturday. So I'll be able to finally play that. It's been sold out everywhere.
Well, I got on it on Amazon like right after everybody started announcing all the reviews and everything for it. I checked Amazon and it was up there. It hasn't shipped yet, according to Amazon, but it claims that I should be getting it in the next week or two.
See, that was what it was for me, but it was like it would no update. I was like, well, and then I look on Best Buy and it's like, oh yeah, hey, we'll ship this to you in like 3 days. Okay, let's go. So
I might need to cancel my order then. Yeah, because it's still saying arriving between May 13th and 25th, but hasn't said anything since. I'm like, guys, but like I said, I'm on Persona right now.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do the good thing of focusing on one and making my way through it, and then I'll worry about the next deal. I've got more than enough crap to keep me entertained between now and whenever Expedition wants to show up.
Oh yeah, because it's going to be definitely one I'm not playing online. I'm just going to play through it myself, and then because after this Thursday of playing Days Gone, I'll be working on playing Resident Evil 2, the GOG version, with Andrew as a commentary, like I did for the Saturn version of Resident Evil 1. So I'm looking forward to it. So, what are your thoughts? And this is going to be a big impact because I don't think people understand how much of our films are filmed foreignly, not locally within the United States. So this is going to be another one of those things of like we don't realize how much of our stuff is going to be taxed because it's produced outside of the country. What do y'all think about the 100% tariff on films, foreign
I
films?
think that's ridiculous, and it's going to impact even streaming services.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how they're going to handle this because they sell their service for a set price, and when their price goes up, they're going to want to jack up the price, and I'm just not going to be able to afford it. And not when it's going to be happening to every one of them that has streamed foreign films, which are mostly sometimes better than what we get here at home. So I don't know. We'll see. May have to fix my Netflix and get me a what do you call it, so I can look at different region films.
Oh, you mean getting a VPN to be able to
VPN, so I can log in.
Well, the problem is too is that remember how much of these streaming services provide content that they make themselves. We have the Amazon or the Netflix, Amazon exclusives that they produce these shows that they film in other countries, like New Zealand for Lord of the Rings, and we got. Luckily, I'm pretty sure all the filming is pretty much done and wrapped for Stranger Things, the final season. But anything else?
Mention that. So, yeah, it's
never mentioned that. It's finished.
Yeah. He said it's an emotional ride. The last season, it's all in the can, so it's not that it won't affect our wrap up of Stranger Things, thankfully.
So at least we'll have that before the price is raised because they're going to have to push the bill onto the consumer to be able to make these things that the consumers want. So, yeah, I don't know how many people are going to continue to subscribe to Netflix or Amazon because, yeah, it's already $19, I think, a month that I'm paying for Netflix, and you're going to push it into 30 to maybe.
Oh, Netflix mine is 24 something, but I have a bundle with Net. I try to bundle them. That way I get my money's worth.
I mean,
Or at least that's what they tell you.
It's interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
It's mentioned the reason why these tariffs are happening is because the movie industry in America is dying. Let's get
Make
real.
better films. Make better movies.
But
right.
But it's also not, right?
It's
American-made films are going elsewhere because there's incentives, and people in other countries and other cities, and they're giving these incentives to bring commerce to their country, and that's just the way it is. It's cheaper in a better location. Maybe they need the scenery. Maybe they need. There's millions of reasons to go remote, to make a film, even with American
production crews.
I mean, I don't know that you take all your crew over there or not. You're hiring crews there, probably. But at the end of the day, like, do better. How can you say that it's dying when I would argue still to this day the most prominent industry for film is still America, regardless of the output or the quality of output of films. There's more movie stars in America. There's more large film companies in America. There's more executives of film. Like, all of that stuff still exists in our borders. To say that 100% tariffs is because it's dying, maybe it's to save the millionaire their budget, right? Like to give them to save their paycheck. But
well, I just watched something that was talking about the film industry, and it said that most American studios now film so that they can recoup their cost of the film by claiming it was a failure off of insurance. That it's become part of their business model. So if your business model is to fail intentionally so you can recoup the cost of it, and then all that money that you make off the film is profit, then that's your business model. That's not the competition.
Yeah, no. Right, exactly. That's a good point.
Well, and then it makes you wonder how many of these like big film companies are writing off tax certain things or whatever. Oh, this was lost, so we don't have to pay this much in taxes. And the government's sitting there and itemizing all this stuff. And of course, we're losing money here. And it's like no one's really kind of auditing this stuff and making sure that, any of this is legit.
Well, how can they not either? Like, it would have to be considered somewhat fraudulent if you tank your movie on purpose to collect
it used money. To be. I mean, that's the whole thing about the producers. That's what the producers was about.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
More money in a failure than there is in a product.
Right.
Success.
But I mean, like, how long does that business model last, though? Because it's like if you make trash forever, right? And eventually, it's like, who's going to come to you to who's even going to want to give like funding for a movie if they just know that you're busting it, you're purposefully going to go bust on it for the sake of the money, right? Like, at a certain point, I mean, I guess if all they're seeing is, am I getting a return on an investment? And I am, because the movie went bust, and then they were able to get enough money back, right? To cover that and then some. But man, I would be curious to see people give breakdowns of numbers, because I just don't understand how that would be a consistent business model over a long term, setup.
Well, look at hedging in the stock market.
Well, yeah, but that's short term gain stuff, right? Like, that's what you're doing. That's if you're just wanting to get like a quick cash infusion, yeah, I can understand that. But like, for the long game, you want name brand stuff to be able, like, I mean, that's why name brand costs more, right? You want something that can be attributed to a positive and good product. The only reason why stuff like oh god, what was the studio that put out all those crappy knockoffs of like instead of Transformers, it was Transmorphers and
Transmorphers, yeah.
Asylum. It was Asylum, right? Asylum. What happened to Asylum Studios? Where are they now? It's part of the
I think they're still around.
yeah. They might still be around, but they have nowhere near the prominence they once did. And when did that prominence come around? It was the video stores, right? When the video stores existed, that's where they made their money. It's like they made cheap, crappy, knockoff, nonsense movies. But man, when you were standing there in the Blockbuster and you had Transformers in one hand and you could pick up Transmorphers in the other, we're like, all right, we're double featuring this.
Yeah, we're watching.
This is gonna be some silly crap, right?
Yeah.
But I don't, and so in that sense, I can understand. Okay, we're gonna tank this movie, but we know that we're gonna be able to write it off and then make all that more back by it being in the video stores. But you don't have that anymore.
No,
so I don't understand how that would be a consistent business model.
Because a lot of the studios own the streaming services that we're watching.
Yeah, but if it's a garbage movie, and again, if it's garbage and it's consistently garbage, and all you're putting on your streaming service is garbage, then for some studios it works. I just don't understand how that's long term for a lot of people.
It goes against what our business models used to be, but everything has changed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you think about like what Roger Corman and his studio, and
But Roger Corman just wanted to make stuff cheap, right? He also knew what would sell.
His was drive-ins.
Yes, was right, exactly. There was a market for it, but even though that stuff was still schlock, but it was a thing that people wanted to go watch. It was like, how bad is this going to be? You want to see a shit show?
Roger was like, I want blood, I want boobs, and let's go, right? Like that's what's going to put butts in seats. So let's run with it, right?
And another thing that's not helped is that a lot of movies were purchased as made for TV movies.
Correct.
For the three big networks, and they were big night events. There we had Friday night movie, we had the Thursday night movie. If you were lucky, you had several. The Saturday night usually was the late night movie.
Yeah.
But you had them doing miniseries for this. How anybody's making money anymore.
Well,
really,
right.
So, how do you make a movie where you spend $40 million on one actor before you even cut the film? For one piece of footage is filmed.
Well,
that puts you in the hole. And then if you're going to have three actors.
Well, then when an actor that you have on set is like a 30 to 40% of your budget, you have.
Well, it depends. It depends on what you're shooting, right, and what kind of draw power they're going to have, right? Like, that's what it comes down to. It's like, if you know that putting together a low budget thriller, but if you tag Keanu Reeves and put his face all over the poster and make it look very John Wickish, right? Like, and you make a trailer that looks very John Wickish and you've got Keanu on the front. Yeah, he might have cost $40 million, but I'm pretty sure that movie is going to draw, some level of crowd as long as it looks competent enough and you've got that name power to pull on it, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to be, $1 billion blockbuster, but that's why they get to ask for those big bucks, because hey, this mug is going to be worth at least 50, so you pay me 45, right?
It's 40% profit or 40% budget for 50% profit or something like that.
Yeah,
they know that they can get X amount of dollars out of Johnny Depp's name, right? Just his name. Put him in a film, and somebody's going to show up because people love Johnny Depp. Or
maybe not him anymore,
let's
but.
Go.
Oh, wait a minute. How many times they got to get burned? Because there have been a lot of big budget movies with big name stars who they used to be able to bank on, and then they fail, but then they keep making it.
I think they just circle back to your point where they're getting that insurance money.
Yeah.
Well, it's that
until they find the next hot face, right? Because that's why Sydney Sweeney is everywhere right now, right? Like I saw a thing where there's like 4, 5, 6 movies that are coming out that her name is attached to. And why? Because she's the hot name in Hollywood right now. And are all those movies going to be bangers? Are all those movies going to make money back? Maybe not. But
I think
all they need is one to hit, right?
those people are manufactured because they need the next big star.
Yeah.
They've not really earned that yet. We haven't seen that film that makes them the star. So they're always pushing it. They're always trying to make somebody into something.
Oh yeah, AstroTurf is 100% real on the commercials, right?
It's the Illuminati, y'all.
Yeah,
That's right.
Well,
Collectively.
Well,
And
if you
not-
think about it,
I
what
mean,
is
kind
it,
of,
the,
right?
the ownership of studios? I don't remember the numbers, but it was like we had all these film studios, and now they're pretty much owned by 5 or 6 groups as these massive conglomerates. Comcast is one of the biggest ones. They own everything.
Where's Teddy? Get Teddy back. Let's dig up Teddy's corpse and get to trust busting.
so it goes back to part of the reason why the decline in quality is because of this stuff that was going on and allowed within the film industry. And people didn't want to watch things that were forcing an agenda on you instead of just telling good stories. But that doesn't mean that the whole industry as a whole is failing and not making money. So the claim that, American film industry is failing and, they're going to go bankrupt is BS. So, and then it's already hard for us as consumers to be able to go do these things on a regular basis when, a ticket used to be like $6 or you could get into like the $3 matinee. Now it's like, it's been 15, 23. I mean, I was trying to get tickets for me and Edward to go see Star Wars, and it was expensive.
It's a lot.
Like,
Well, but also ever since COVID, right? Like the entire system of going to the theater has changed. It's no longer, theaters filled with 100-something generic seats where you're like up on top of each other. Now every single theater has the fancy reclining, all that good stuff. So they would argue, right, that they have changed the experience and made it a more premium experience, and so therefore they should be able to charge quote unquote premium prices for it. And then like if you want to get the special seats that rock and shoot smells and stuff in your face, man, you get to spend basically almost like $30-$40 on that crap.
No, that like NXT, that full experience is 16 something, $17 total.
I mean,
but
I'm sure
they
there's a lot of people that would want to sweat it,
hold
but
on,
some actor.
y'all-
Okay, go ahead.
Y'all were saying that studios are charging more because they need to make more money, but they don't make the money off of the film or the seats anyway.
No, they don't.
All their money is made off of concession, which you'll go and see a $10 movie and spend $40 on popcorn, a Coke, and a candy.
Mhm.
They aren't hurting.
Well,
by no means.
The theaters aren't hurting, but like studios may be something different. But like,
well, remember, studios had to share the profit, the box office, with the theaters
Correct.
system, and then so the studio started making their own theaters. So the idea of the independent theater is that's gone.
no, I know that, but I mean, but think about it though. Like, I want to go see Sinners, but if I wait 2 weeks, I can pay $25 to get it digitally and own it for forever long until they decide to take it off the service I have. But you think about the cost of me going to go see that with a couple of friends. I mean, it's going to be cheaper just for me to get the digital and not go to see it in theaters because I don't have to shell out so much, and I only get to see it once.
Yeah, but you're just watching on your puny little TV screen. You're not seeing it
as
it's meant to be seen.
My 65-inch
That's what
TV.
we were talking about the other day.
Your 65-inch TV is nothing compared to the screen at the theater, sir. Like I'm sitting in front of a screen that puts your 65-inch to shame, right?
Well, I got something to say in that same line. I watched the documentary on Galaxy Quest and everything that went through when it was with Ramus and then he quit. All the different changing of the actors and everything that happened. But the biggest thing I took from it was that film was filmed in different aspect ratios. There was the original, which was meant to mimic the old television, and then there was the a slightly larger aspect for the traditional movie theater. And then when Tim Allen's character is marched into the teleportation room, and he's supposed to see the whole galaxy open up to him, so he's about to be teleported. That was filmed almost in, what is the big studio?
IMAX?
IMAX style. But most theaters didn't know that. So they never expand. You're supposed to expand the curtain or whatever, the screen.
Yeah.
And so you didn't get that.
No.
And most people did not even watch it in theater because that movie did not make a whole. I did. I watched it.
We watched it in theaters.
I loved that
multiple times.
Fantastic movie.
But watching it on, most people saw it on their television, so they missed out on that. They don't understand what it is to see something grand like that on the big screen where it's meant to be seen. We're losing something with people trying to create home theaters at home. You just can't get it big enough to do it justice.
Well, but it's
The
not.
size does matter, is what I'm hearing.
It doesn't. But
Yeah, it does.
Like, cost matters too.
Don't let.
You got to look at the fact that people may not have the funds to be able to go do that anymore. You know,
No, but you can still go to a matinee if you can arrange to make
most
it to a
theaters like
Still-
here don't have matinees anymore. It is the same ticket price.
AMC still has all their theaters still have it. Cinemark still has their matinee price. So don't say that. I mean,
No,
those
I
are the
did.
two that I go see.
Where you go see. You're in a smaller town than where I'm in a bigger city.
I have to go into McKinney, which is
It's a still a
almost as big as
smaller.
freaking Houston. So
No, it's McKinney is
well,
not as big.
McKinney is part of Plano, Frisco, Allen. It's one massive city that's broken up. Houston's not one big massive city. It's a bunch of smaller cities that have been annexed to one city. It is identical. Don't even go there. And that's way before you hit Dallas.
Yeah, see, I'm with David. No, it's
Try driving through it and tell me that.
I did a couple weeks ago. It is not Houston.
it's not Houston.
Well, how did you come through?
We were coming back from Oklahoma. Yes, and actually,
Did you take
we were in an
35
SUV,
or
and
did you go 75, 35? Which way?
well, we were coming.
He probably went through 75 to 45. He went through Oklahoma.
Possibly.
I believe that's what it was. Yeah, that's
So
what
it's
it was.
an hour and a half to get from where I live into Dallas.
Okay.
Okay, and that's through 4 towns, 4 cities.
Yeah.
So I can make it through Houston in 45 minutes, going straight up 45, even from coming from Clear Lake.
Right, but there's a difference in terms of just sheer span and in terms of like density of population, right?
No, yeah, that's
I think
fine.
is what we're
When I'm in
talking
my
about.
car, I'm not running over people. I'm going over road, and that's what I'm
Fair.
talking
Sure. So you're talking over here, we're talking over here, and it's a little different. It's fine. But no, so like I just checked Cinemark, right? So like I have the little app on my phone.
Yeah,
so if I wanted to go watch Sinners tomorrow at 10:40 a.m., it's $10 a ticket.
Yeah, that's what that tracks.
Theater
'Cause
where
they don't like literally even with Fandango, it doesn't show up as matinee matinee. It just shows you the prices.
No, it tells you matinee. I have the Cinemark too.
I didn't say Cinemark. I said Fandango.
It
No,
looks and the price, at least for me, is I'm looking across it, doesn't change until I get to 6:00 in the evening, and then it bumps up $1.50. Is what I'm seeing. But I'm just doing a quick spot check. Yeah, it doesn't say, like, for me, it doesn't say anything about matinee. It just says tickets 10, blah blah blah. If I add that, okay, yeah. Whenever I go to add it, it says matinee $10, but it's $10, right? So I mean, still, your matinee price is $10.
what used to be the regular price, yes.
Yeah,
Right.
I got lucky. Mine
Oh yeah,
is $8.50.
Woo. Do you live out by McKinney?
No, he lives out there.
I'm on the southeast side of Houston.
Yeah.
Suburbs.
So that would be like midway through McKinney.
Yeah, because for me, the closest theater I got, you got what? The Edwards Marquee, and then I could go out all the way through to 249 and get out to the Silverado Theater or whatever it is now. And let's see, Centers, right? We're going on this tangent. Let's go for it.
Yeah, what are we doing here, guys?
Hold on. So if I want to go see tomorrow, Centers. Come on, pop up. All right, we're gonna go. I'm just looking for the earliest time. All right, we got a 9:30 or 9:45. Let's see what the Smart Box is.
I got matinee prices. Might not be able to see this right.
Yeah, 1677 for a 9 a.m. movie. At what theater is this? Hold on, let's see. We're looking at the AMC Willowbrook.
So I went to Cinemark over here by me, and it's $7.50 matinee for Sinners at 11 a.m. though. So
Yeah,
well, real
and
matinee.
that's the thing.
Mine is 10. My matinee is 10:30 in the first showing for Sinners.
But I also did standard format, so there's that.
Yeah,
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Standard format.
But I just went to D-Box, and it's no different.
Yeah,
It's
I went
really
to Central Town, which is closer to me, which is D-Box as well, and it's 15. And that's at 10:30 a.m. So, but it didn't come up as matinee.
I'm not anywhere near these guys. I'm in New York. They're
So you're
always
just
having fun.
so you're just screwed, is what I'm hearing.
No,
This is big ticket.
20 minutes away at Swigo Cinema 6. Everything before noon is matinee price.
Nice.
But what is that matinee price? 'Cause
Yeah,
we
what
just
is that matinee?
established that.
No,
My
I'm
matinee
talking
price is-
about you can go in with $20 and get popcorn and see a movie.
Oh man,
Because
See, matinee up here for Thunderbolts, if I go to see it in the first show, 9:35, it is $6.
see, I'm not lucky like that where I'm at because I live over near the I don't live near the richer people, but all the theaters that are near me are by the richer people. So
you're close enough.
I'm close
Right,
enough.
like
So the tickets are.
the Improv's right there and all that too, right? In the same theater,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
right across from the movie theater.
because there's Willowbrook, there's Deerbrook, because Willowbrook's over there by 1960, and then you got the Willowbrook is on the other side near Humble. 249 all the way out. That's still even like 20, 30 minutes away from me, maybe depending on traffic. And then the Edwards Theater's the closest, but that's still going to be more expensive too. But there's none of that stuff is matinee. It's if I were to go down south, it would be cheaper. That's definitely evident. Or if I head towards where David's at, definitely going to be more cheaper. But where I'm at,
I love
Yeah,
the-
even on Cinemark, you can go and look up matinee discount prices, and it'll tell you which theaters and which how much.
So
Pretty
how
weird
much
that
how
they're
much
doing
gas are you willing to burn?
yeah, that's that.
No, that's the difference. But
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I have. Well, they closed the one that was 14. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Cinemarks within 22 miles of me.
So
Yeah, I
the Edwards Marquee over here, the Regal Edwards Houston Marquee, the one off of
Lincoln's.
I-10 right there,
Yeah.
that is 7 minutes away from me, or 7 miles away from me. No, not 7 minutes, 7
Well,
miles.
it says each theater has a different matinee price that you
Yeah.
share with the local theater. On average, matinee is $6 off whatever the normal price ticket is. Matinees at Cinemark are a great way to see a movie at lower prices. You can still enjoy the same delicious.
All right, we don't need to wait the full ad.
I'll do the advertisement for it. Maybe we can get some money out of it.
Right. This episode is brought to you by AMC at Cinemark.
So
your fantastic movies in a comfortable theater near you.
during
But it says, remember, discounts and timing are varied by location and matinee.
We have established this. Yes.
So interestingly enough,
So, regardless, if we start having movies brought in and they're going to hit theaters like that, all that is going to be subject to change.
Oh yeah, your matinee at normal prices.
Yeah, I mean, and see, like, we're looking at all of us living in different spots. You know, whether in the state we're in or New York, you know, Texas, New York, whatever. So, and you can just see the varying prices between, like, if there's a matinee, if there's not a matinee, what app you go through. It all varies, and all of it's just not. It's already in on the higher end. So you think about what it's going to be once the price increases, and that's pushed back to the consumer, because that's always going to be pushed back to the consumer.
Well, if that's the case, Cinemark has their own. Fandango used to have their own ticket sales, where you got their discount prices. You know, you can pay a monthly or yearly fee and get 1 to 2 free movies a month. I don't know who goes and sees anything more than that, unless you're a critic or you do it for a living. But
for us, when we were younger, because we would go every Friday.
Well, but those days are gone.
I know, because back then it was like for $20 you could get me, you.
Yeah, you could get 4 people in for $20.
$30, you could load up a car full of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been a Cinemark movie club or whatever they call it member. I subscribed before COVID. When the COVID happened, they shut down theaters. I thought I paused my membership, and they were charging me every month. So I have 50 credits. I wonder if they'll.
Nice.
No, they won't let you. They won't let you get it. I've already tried, but because I had with them, I didn't want to renew it, and I had 10 in my queue because you got one a month, and I wasn't going to see very many movies.
Yeah,
but when I tried to go, hey, can I, get a gift certificate or something or whatever? They were like, no, you use them or you lose them. And back then, they would expire if you canceled your subscription. There was a due date on it. You had to watch them before that. Now it seems that's gone because for you got to keep all of them.
So I paused the subscription so I could keep them. But but if you pause it, you then have to pay the fees, the taxes and fees. That's a weird thing, right? You'd imagine ticket is a ticket. No, if you pause your subscription, then you have to pay like $2 for your ticket at the theater.
Yeah.
They waive the fees. Anyways, so here's what we did during COVID once they opened the theaters up again. I had so many damn tickets. Excuse my language, but like I had so many tickets that we would just book the whole damn row. Like we would just I'd buy 10 tickets and we'd bring like 5 people and we would just have a whole row to ourselves and people would be really upset about it, but we'd buy all the tickets. Nobody ever said anything. We had our space. We didn't get sick. We watched our movies. We would just book all the spaces around us.
So, Vince.
Got to get a blanket out and everything, a picnic table,
Mm-hmm.
Was it Ember who booked out the theater or it was more than a row? Because for me to go see King Kong, right?
I believe so, yeah.
For my birthday.
That's awesome.
And I remember having it masked, and I was like, man, I was coughing so much. And I was like, man, don't cough, because you're going to ruin it for anybody else. But they had every other row was spaced away, and we had a whole row outdoors.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, whenever it was Skull Island.
Yeah, I think it was Skull
Island. Some of our friends will book, we'll just rent the theater and for like a group, and we'll get the group together. Because we have little kids, right? So like little kids in a theater is a pain. So the Mario movie, they booked it, and they just let the kids roam free. And all the adults had kids, so they were just like, whatever, go in theater, watch what you want to watch, don't watch what you don't want to watch. Us adults, we know you're safe because we've closed the doors. This is our theater. Nobody's in here with us. They would roam around. We'd watch a movie. And it was like, I don't know, it wasn't very much. It was a couple $100 and we'd split it, and it was like, might as well be the same price of taking a couple people to the movie.
Yeah, I remember AMC doing that, and then Cinemark. It was like, if you want to do this, rent this whole theater, and it was cheap compared to like if you were to do it.
You can still do that they advertise for businesses all the time.
Yeah, you can do it, and you can even apparently you can play video games on the screen too.
Wait.
Yeah.
No, you can play on your
I can
phone.
play Final Fantasy Rebirth.
No, you can play console gaming. I can't remember which I'll find it for you and I'll send it to you because I'm looking at doing my friend's bachelor party, and one of the things I asked him was like, "What do you want to do?" And he was like,
It's off to go find it now.
Let's go. I found a place where you could rent the theater and hook up a console and play.
So one person would be playing on the big screen, right?
One person, or you could do just think about
Tekken. We could play fighting games.
You could do fighting games. You could do Halo. You could do
giant Mario Kart.
Imagine 4-player Halo, like just original Halo on the movie theater screen, or
8-player Mario Kart.
8-player Mario.
No, that would be like watching the Partridge Family opening. That would be crazy.
Honestly, I think it would. I think I would suck. It would be so bad. You would not be able to see your whole box. You just
he's like, where am I at?
Where am I at?
As long as it was Halo from the console and not like the online version, that'd be fine. Because when I would play Halo with my son Eric in Tennessee, the game would glitch up all the time, and I had constant full 42-inch screen of Spartan ass right there.
Cinemark.
Detail was immaculate, and I don't want to see the 110-inch screen of Spartan ass.
I gotta tell Anna that I want this for my 45th birthday. Whenever
110-foot Spartan. Gotcha.
I want to be able to play it's like Tekken. I'll invite all my friends, and we're gonna have a giant fighting game tournament.
Mortal Kombat, man, all those fatalities on the big screen would be awesome.
Tekken, Street Fighter. You could rent out a theater, babe, and hook up a console.
Rent a theater for gaming and enjoy your own.
Could you imagine playing Animal Crossing in a giant movie theater like that?
Yes. You can really.
They'll started a trend.
Yeah,
it's happening.
Well,
this is what we're currently planning for retro games for my buddy's bachelor party. He wanted to play because he has a huge retro game collection. So he was like, "Could we hook up?" I bet it looks like garbage.
The original Pitfall.
We'll see what happens. We'll see if that actually comes through. But you can do it.
I gotta say something. Where does that put us in society where our men want to go to play video games for their bachelor party?
I think
wholesome. We're wholesome now.
Yeah, we're
wholesome. Okay, well that defeats the whole purpose of a bachelor.
What you could do is you could play Dead or Alive 6.
There you go.
Get the jiggle physics, and then be able to at least be able to play a fighting game, and you get somewhat of best of the both worlds.
Because I know while your guy friends are at the theater playing games, your girlfriends are going to be at the male strip club.
Yeah,
no, they're in the theater over.
Yeah, the theater over. They're
playing Animal Crossing.
So that was the question I asked was, what do you really want to do? And he said, it's not his first marriage, it's his third. So he was like, really, I'm cool with whatever because I've done the other things and all that, and I really just want to hang out with my boys and just have fun. And I was like, all right, cool, we can do that. And so the first part is during the day we're gonna, or at least if we can get it booked, we're gonna go to the gun range. We're gonna.
That would be fun.
Yeah, we're gonna shoot a bunch of really cool guns, and then we're gonna.
If you want to go to Fort Hood, I know somebody I can hook you up with.
Let's go.
He has a military style range and police officer
Oh
training.
man, that sounds okay. I'll be in contact.
Okay.
You got to
It's my-
come along though.
Like
Yeah,
It's
come
my
along,
buddies,
Dan.
too.
You got to come along though.
You got to come along. Yeah.
I'll go. He's been trying to get me to come over there.
Cool.
I'll have him put me up on his shoulders, and I can just ride and shoot as
Yeah, but yeah. So that went off the rails a little bit, but here we are. Video gaming.
That's what this show does best. If anybody who watches this, they know.
Before we go back on the road, they just opened up a paintball up here in Van Alstyne. I haven't been there yet, but they're bombarding my door with the flyers.
Oh, nice.
better flyers than paintballs.
Yeah, that's what a way to advertise you have a new paintball range. Just right by and shooting all the people's houses. Wow. Yeah,
Would you be able to though if like the paint were to hit just right? Could you actually like if you notched like the edge of the flyer? Could you actually like pin it to the door? Would that be a thing?
that would be awesome.
There you go.
I might not be angry and come out shooting at them if they were able to do that well.
Dum, dum, dum. What the hell? Oh, hey, this is pretty cool.
Could you imagine like a real life Paperboy situation where everybody like reenacts the things from the game, but you have to walk through and not get hit by dogs and other.
I wouldn't do anything like that up here because everybody owns guns.
Break somebody's window.
Somebody's vehicle backfires and it sounds like a gun going off. Everybody runs out their front door. Is it happening? Is it yet? Have they invaded? Go back to bed.
Not today. Wolverines. We'll let you know. It's fine.
Put the purge siren away.
First. So, just to end cap that part of the conversation with what was going on, with the changes of the tariffs for import foreign movies, I don't know how much is also going to affect anime. There are the things that are brought into this country that are foreign made, that are from other countries. So it's going to be very, very interesting for our anime fans out there that don't like the fact that we can't buy our stuff.
As soon as a studio complains to him and they make enough money, he will back off on it and things will go back to normal.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
because he's already given it to cars, and most cars that are built in the U.S. have parts made from around the world. Movies, studios, cartoons, they may be produced here. They may be, the director is here. The animation is done somewhere else.
So now bringing into the next topic real quick, and we don't have to go long on this one, but Kevin posted something about was it the headphones that you purchased that were going to be delayed?
Yeah, so I bought some Heavies headphones to see what they sounded like because everybody's about them for heavy metal music. Mm-hmm. And they were, normally if you look at all the reviews, everybody's like, we get them in exact time, yada, yada, yada. And so I ordered them before, I think it was March 25th, maybe something like that.
Yeah, before the cutoff.
April or March 25th. I don't remember which one. So, big difference, clearly. No, it must have been April.
It would have been April
25th. And so I got the shipping label notice, and I emailed them, and they sent me just kind of general, here's the information you should know. And some of the things they said in that email were, we ship all of our stuff from our factories in our warehouse in China. And the minute I read that, I knew what the answer was going to be after I got the response from their support team. And when they emailed me back, they said something along the lines of everything's being held up at customs unexpectedly. They even created the label and processed the shipment before the tariffs were supposed to go into place. But apparently they were holding them in customs so they were working with their customs officials to try and get them cleared and get them on the road. long and short of it, it's been 14 days in transit, and I still don't have a tracking update. It still shows as like label created, and they understand that that's the case. But this is a direct impact on like that company and also me having ordered this stuff from the tariff, the switch over happening in what was it, May 2nd?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they said we're working as hard as we can, and I'm hopeful that they're not going to come back to me and say, we need you to pay X dollars more because they're charging us X dollars more. That's still up in the air. We'll see. And that's obviously clearly not the only instance of that. I'm part of some groups for 6 scale collectors and stuff like that. And Star Wars Celebration just happened, right? So, they announced some items from Hot Toys. Some people from China, I guess, got their hands on some of these figures. They put them up on eBay. People bought those at what seemed like reasonable price, like $380-ish, right? And then they were hit with almost $600 in import fees.
And fees, yeah.
Yeah. So this is stuff that we're going to see probably. I have a feeling like the companies from China that are shipping to the U.S. are going to figure out a way not to surprise people as much with these charges. But if you're buying, it definitely gave me pause. I buy from some smaller, I guess, importers for like some other figures, like Joy Toy figures. They have like the Ninja Turtles line right now. I've really liked their figures. They're 1/18 scale. And I went on there to possibly buy the Krang and Slash that they just recently released and that have available. But it gave me pause because they didn't say anything about tariffs or what to expect there. So I haven't bought anything else from there. I changed my mind on that.
Isn't it anything that was already in the country was protected from the tariffs? It was only after a certain point of stuff coming in. Because I know that they're held up in containers and ships are setting in ports, and they're not even going out anymore.
Yeah.
Because it costs them too much to go out and be rejected at the intended port.
Yeah, that's
I think what it came down to, or at least so, I've got, right now the reason why I'm so doing other things and not looking is that I got Zombicide White Death in, right, the most recent one, and this came across. It was able to be delivered, and I have a couple other crowdfunding deals that are out there in limbo right now. But I had Super Boss Monster sitting up on a shelf over here, and that stuff was able to be delivered. And the way that they were saying it was, as long as it was on a ship by like a certain date, like sometime in April, then you were good. But yeah, after that date, you're screwed, and it sucks because, like what you're saying, right? It's like some of these guys that are having their stuff arriving now, right? They're trying to figure out how to make up these payments because it's just a lot of these crowdfunding exercises are these little bitty companies, right? That can't eat. Like one of them was talking about how like it was a charge that was going from like $20,000 to you're talking like 6 figures or more.
Yeah.
Just to be able to get their stuff off the boat to be able to deliver to folks. And it's like they don't want to charge people for it. So one of the people was like, hey, we actually ordered like a bunch of extra like dice and a bunch of other stuff. So like, hey, just add a bunch of this stuff to your order. That way we don't feel as bad. Like you're at least getting something for the extra money that you're putting in. But like one of the games that I've been waiting on for almost 2 years is a card game called Sentinels of the Multiverse. They're doing another expansion, and I crowdfunded that like a long time ago. Well, the company that makes that game called Greater Than Games, they make a bunch of other games like Spirit Island and a couple others. Well, their entire company basically got laid off all the way down to essentially the founders of the company. And I literally just got an email this morning from them saying, hey, we had sent the game off. It was being printed. We had to pause printing. We had to basically lay off our entire staff except just us. And we have no idea what we're going to do until things, settle down, calm down. We can figure out something to do. one of the other
A
really
lot.
interesting.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say one of the other really interesting tidbits that came out from some of the commentaries of people that it's more of like broader context and moving forward that I'm kind of curious about is some of the board game folks were actually talking about the fact that some of them had already started shifting away from using China into other like Southeast Asian countries, and it kind of made me curious to hear that about like I wonder how much of a shift is going on anyway from China. Not that that necessarily helps people right now,
Well,
but it was just kind of like an interesting little moment of
I know
man,
the Philippines, and I know Vietnam are trying to compete with China, but is the quality going to be as good?
yeah, that's the crazy thing, right? Is like I mean, what manufacturing's been out of America for a generation at this point? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like what was funny was I was listening to a video of a guy talking about he was joking about a fetishist website that made inflatable suits, right? Latex suits. And the guy who runs that website was talking about how in China, because they've been manufacturing this for like 20 years, there's a specific type of welding that you have to do to the latex in order to make it be able to hold the air inside for being able to inflate these suits outright. And they're the only they have the only companies that have that level of specialization in order to do that type of welding of that. So yeah, it's not like all this talk about wanting to bring manufacturing back. It's like you're talking 3 to 5 years just to rebuild the infrastructure.
Oh no, it's
right
5 to 10. It's 5 years to build out the infrastructure. Another 2 years on top of that to create the supply chains needed for that within the United States. On average, it's 10 years. That includes the training, the infrastructure, the permits,
right,
the regulations, and everything.
And that's
else.
just to get you at square one,
It's
right?
square one.
It's not even the same quality, which is crazy to think about. But
and you may not even get to manufacture for a while too. After.
Yeah.
No, because like
I wanted to bring up what I was going to say before was that up until now, with all the tariffs, small import companies that imported a small number with a certain dollar amount escaped the tariffs, like Temu and some of these others. Well, that's gone now.
Yeah.
So they're even being hit by the tariffs, and so I don't know what's going to happen because they were a good place to get certain things that you might have missed. They were knockoffs, but they were still well done.
Well, let me pause that. Keep in mind for people who don't know, a lot of times with knockoffs, they actually have the actual molds and everything to make these things. Yeah. So it's not necessarily it's a knockoff. It's just not under the brand because
the stuff coming out of China is basically. I'm sorry, Benny, but
go ahead.
Because I learned about this when I was, for about music gear. Basically, you have one company or two companies that manufacture the same item for up to 24 companies. Like for the instance of a guitar pedal, same guts, same casing, everything. The only difference is literally the name and the paint job.
Yeah.
And the bigger the company name, the more they'll charge for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes along with what you're saying.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily knockoffs. They're called knockoffs because certain companies want that advantage. They'll go, oh, no, that's a knockoff of ours, but it's from the same place.
Because like the Transformer masterpieces that you can get that are KO, they use the same mold that was used for the real stuff.
Right.
And it's just somebody got in, they paid to have that mold because they're not going to make it anymore. If not, it was going to be thrown out. And then people just remold them and then they sell them again. And they may actually, and that's one of the things too with like the masterpiece stuff is like sometimes they fix problems that were never fixed with the initial run for the actual manufacturer. Yeah. So, and a lot of people don't understand that like a lot of the stuff is manufactured. Like most of our toys have been manufactured over in China for 2 decades now. And like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth. I mean, like I've been getting constantly over the places. Yes, I need to get him. I haven't got it yet. But most of this stuff is like it's going up. A lot of it, some of it's maybe a couple bucks. You know, a lot of the stuff that like I was like my GI Joes and the few Star Wars figures and Marvel Legends, those are only like are going up maybe from 24 to 26 bucks. But that doesn't change. I mean, that changes like when you're looking at like Super 7, who's definitely a company here locally, or not locally in Texas, they're locally in the U.S., but I mean, most of their stuff is produced outside of country. And their figures are already expensive, anywhere between 45 to 60 bucks per figure. You're looking at almost $80 with the increase on this. And then even if that, like Kevin was saying, some of the stuff sitting in customs, you may never even get it.
Yeah.
Well, here's another thing. I knew some of this was going to be bad, and I talked to you about this, Vince, before. There was a manufacturer of babies equipment and pumps for new mothers and all this other stuff, and they built everything out in China and had it shipped. As soon as everything started getting locked down and the price went up, they have a very minimal markup because they're for parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they saw this coming, they tried to buy all the tool and die and everything and bring it here to manufacture here. The cost that was being applied for just those pieces of equipment made it cost prohibitive for them to ship their own. They paid for the manufacturing of this, but to ship for their own equipment to be sent here so they could start manufacturing here in the U.S. was too cost prohibitive. And they said they only had 6 months, this is almost 2.5 months ago, of supply for their stores and for like Targets and all these other. And when they're done, they're going to have to go out of business. They're going to have to shut down. So it's not affecting just toys; it's affecting everything.
Yeah. Yeah, our niche nerd crap is just, our stuff, but it's going to ripple out to everything.
And it's crazy. My insurance went up. My car insurance went up, and I called the guy. I said, "I've been with you a long time. You went up last month. I understand. I mean, last time it renewed, and you guys said, well, it's because everybody's claiming." Has claims in, it's getting too expensive to offer insurance in Texas. And I was like, so what is it now? And he said, the tariffs. And I was like, what in insurance is tariffs affecting?
Replacement parts.
Yeah.
It could be, yeah. I didn't think of that, but it just upset me.
Yeah.
I was like, I felt like I was being ripped off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's insurance, right?
The
cost of
you are.
Yeah, it's the cost of remember they have the specialized repair shops that they do stuff.
Yeah, and I know in some they most new cars are proprietary, so you have to have the manufactured part.
So
and even if you didn't have to have the manufactured part, where do you think
it's manufactured?
Yeah, where do you think the others are manufactured? Right, they're definitely not manufactured here.
And I just shared in the chat a story that broke today. The first of the stuff that's post tariff enactment, those shipments are now starting to hit LA from China, and they said the containers aren't even 50% full of what they have. So on top of them,
what they ordered, you mean
they're not full containers anymore. They're half full of the overpriced products. So that's probably drive up the prices more.
Yeah.
Probably because they can't afford the full container. Right?
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing too. I put in chat as well, and it's not. I know that the claim is that phones and technology are not supposed to be impacted by this, but that's a lot of BS because we had bought a couple of equipment at my job that is stuck in customs at the moment. Like we don't know what's going to get released, and it's like, okay, we need this for users that need it. So you're now impacting people's businesses, their jobs, and people's livelihood. And it's even, I mean, it's been going on, but it's like when you're affecting like the businesses that help with the flow of like products and other things like that. You're just
Supply chain.
Everything is cascades down from one thing,
But I mean, it's pretty clear that the countries aren't paying the tariffs. I mean, they are, but who ultimately pays for it?
Well, countries don't pay tariffs.
Oh, sorry.
We pay the tariffs.
Yeah, right.
It's the people who they sell to that then mark up so that they can cover it. It's a what is it? It's a they got a name for it. It's kind of like a sales tax, but it's not, because it doesn't affect you unless you're purchasing something.
It's an import tax. I mean, it basically is what it is. It's an import tax that's imposed on the seller that has been floated back
paid by the consumer.
Paid by the consumer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's.
I mean, in every again on the nerd side of things, like we've got everything I have pre-ordered is not manufactured here, very clearly.
Most of mine aren't either.
Right, and so I mean, maybe they're Hasbro, maybe they're Super 7, maybe they're Hot Toys, maybe they're Iron Studios, which is Brazil. So fortunately, that one may take a slight smaller impact. But at the end of the day, there's every company that I have something pre-ordered from, I've seen some sort of material that says TBD what you can expect to pay when your final payment comes due. And that's kind of sad, right? And, we've seen the Super 7 has at this point put in-stock items. They've put tariff fees on in-stock items.
Yes.
In the U.S., right?
That's not cool.
That's just profit. That's just profit.
I think, and not to give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe it is to try to spread the cost across all products, but I still think it's a shady practice.
Mm-hmm.
Hasbro, putting up notice that lock in your pre-order pricing now. May 9th is the last day you can expect the prices that they are to be expected today, right? We can raise them at any time. Pre-order what you want now until May 9th.
The thing about all of that is we've been shifting in the United States to a on-demand pricing.
Mm-hmm.
When demand is higher, prices go up. When demand drops, then they lower it. We've done it with food, groceries, and all kinds
Stanley
of
cups.
Mm-hmm.
So
Stanley cups. That's true.
That's just something we're probably going to have to get used to.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, if you've got a 3D printer and you can get the things, you can start making things yourself.
Yeah, and I mean,
an alternative.
Yeah, I've been really considering this too. Personally, like internal dialogue to myself is, what is the value of any one of those things sitting on a shelf, right? And to me, it's just enjoyment, it's entertainment, it's
nostalgia
in some way, right? It's nostalgia. But at the end of the day, where does that value rank on the overall value of life and my family's comfort and the comfort of other people? Very low, even though it would look like otherwise, right? Taking that and selling it today wouldn't be a problem. So I've been considering. So what does this mean? I'm looking at. I'm blessed to have worked hard and long enough to have a good job with plenty of disposable income, and I know not everybody has that luxury. But is there somewhere better I could be putting my money today? Because am I doing a disservice to the overall community of collectors by paying the higher prices? Right? Because the question for me has become, do we trust them to take it back down? Right? Are they going to make it lower? Right?
No, nothing in the United States has ever gone down once it's gone up.
Yep. Once you know the threshold, once you know the threshold people are going to pay, you keep it there, because that's something we learned from COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the market will bear.
No, but COVID did impact a lot, especially if you look at the retro gaming community and the toy stuff. Retro gaming, not community, but the retro collecting that because people had nothing but disposable time on their hand and money, they just spit there and bought stuff, and we're paying the price for it. Games weren't as expensive as they were. Toys weren't as expensive as they were. But now the threshold's been reached, and they're pushing it now even further. Now you're looking at like $80 for Nintendo Switch games. Microsoft just increased the price of the Xbox by $200, and then $80 for per game. So it's like, oh, the market can do it. We know that the people are going to pay for it. Then let's go for it. And you're talking about a console that's been out for 5 years now, which should be on the verge out in the next 2 or 3, and you're going to force people to pay the price of a new console for a console that's outdated. It is what it is. It sucks.
No, I mean,
Go
you were there when I was on the phone with the guy at Target, and they aren't going to carry anything but the newest product. They're not going to carry the stock, older games, and they're all going digital. What they had less than one row of even the new stuff. And when I asked them where was all the games, what's going on, why aren't you carrying them? And he was just kind of nonchalantly honest with me, saying, we're moving away from hard copies of anything. Everything is going to be sold digitally. So we can expect shelves with all these little cards hanging on them.
We're going to go back to the whole thing of like it wasn't Toys R Us, except for instead of going up to the counter to go get the game, it's like you just go home and download the code.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
the future, everybody. We made it.
We made it, right? We're going to have that Ready Player One world where we're all living in virtual worlds with any character and any NFT item you want.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about disc rot anymore. I don't have to worry about my stuff getting scratched. I don't have to worry about the kids not putting it back properly. I can just fire it up and I'm good to go.
We can live in Bender's closet, right, with nothing in there.
Until they decide to cut you off.
Yeah, until they decide that's not your game anymore.
Right. Yep.
And they can send out the signal.
But a great commercial I've always thought about when time gets tough for collectors is to have like a parent sitting there looking at their children, and they're just want to keep collecting, so they turn around and look at their kids and they're like, it's either I buy this or I get groceries. And then them throwing, serving their kids dinner, and it's an old toy cooked to look like food, because that's what it's going to come down to. Are you going to continue collecting? Or are you going to spend the money on the things that you need for your family? And I know that you guys will cut back, but there's a lot who won't.
Yep.
If anybody will put $4,000 on a credit card for a 3.25-inch figure, they'll do anything.
Yeah.
So.
Good point.
Well, and then that's another thing too is like, I got that pie, right? It goes up to a certain history of the gaming stuff, and I can still put on more things on there to round it out. I don't technically need my NES games anymore, or my Super Nintendo, or anything that's on there. I don't really need it anymore. It's just taking up space, and I could technically use that money for paying bills, getting out of debt, maybe putting more into the show and in this business. So, but it's definitely something I'm thinking about, especially considering this stuff holds its value and can be moved. Like I have context to move this stuff if I want to, if I need to. So, but I don't know if people are willing to let go of their stuff. They're just like, they're so wrapped up in it.
Yeah. And then you got my wife. So I've talked to Arissa a lot about this. And there's been a few times that we were in a tougher spot. It's only been, I want to say 3 or 4 years where we've been in a non-paycheck to paycheck situation. Right. So, I've talked to her many times over about like getting rid of some of these items. And she's like, no, that's silly. Like, you get rid of it today. Do you get it back ever?
Go buy it again later.
Yeah. Like, how do you get it back? These are things that are important to you. Can't we find another way? And like, I guess there's validity in that, but then you're like, I personally battle with that because I'm cool with just selling it, right? Just being done with it, moving on. My family and my kid are way more important than a statue sitting on a shelf, and I don't care, right? Like it doesn't bother me one bit that that's gone. I enjoyed it while it was here, and I'll enjoy something new. Maybe it'll go into creative endeavors. Maybe it'll go into, teaching my daughter loves to draw and paint, and like investing more time in us doing those things together. Like, but yeah, I think it's all in like knowing. I think you have to have a healthy relationship with yourself and know where that piece fits into your life to be able to give it up, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are identified by.
Well, that's it.
Collection. Yeah.
Well, that's collecting becomes their
Their identity.
identity. They don't know anything else, and it's like being able to, they're like it's like ripping out their soul. You should never allow an item to
possess you.
Correct.
Well, I don't want to say no, obsessed with an item.
Okay.
Because you can lose anything. I tell you what, you want to learn how easy it is to sell stuff? Die on a hospital bed and then have them resurrect you and lay in a hospital for 20-something days, and you don't give
You racked up the
right about anything I have at home.
well,
You know,
that
I
because
just
life change thing. But then when you're hit with the bill, the fact that you were brought back to life and how long you were in there for however long you were in there, if you don't have good insurance, I mean that all factors into this. Like we're all one step away from some kind of disaster that like puts us on the street.
Yeah.
Well, and I think one of the most eye-opening moments for me was I had a coworker who one Friday just came by and was talking about his weekend, what his plans were, and then it slowly devolved into the most existential like discussion we ever had, because he was telling me about how he really liked to take pictures and like put them in the little like glass deals and put them in projectors, and like he would put his set of projectors up and he would go through all the pictures and all that stuff. And he was driving through his neighborhood and he saw that there was a yard sale going on. And so he showed up, and as he was driving by, he noticed some cases that seemed to be like for the type of photo stuff that he knows about, right? So he went over there, went up to the yard sale, found like all this really great equipment that he could use for, his hobby. And so when he gathered it up, he went up to the lady to pay. She like was asking for basically nothing for it. And she went on to explain about how like, her husband had recently passed away, that this was his hobby. This is what all he was into, right? And so as the guy was paying for it, he looked in and realized that there were slides with pictures all still in it. He's like, "Oh, do you want to keep these?" And she's like, "No, I'm good." And it was just like, and so he said, as he was talking about that, he's like, "Yeah, I kind of realized in that moment that at some point that's going to be me. That my kids aren't really into all the picture taking that I am. My wife doesn't really care about it." He's like, "So I just had this moment of looking to the future and seeing, what was going to happen to all this stuff, right?" And whenever you think of it in that perspective, like even if you do pass on like a love for the type of stuff that you collect and all that, at the end of the day, it's in a driveway or something, right? Like you get out of it what you can while you can, but don't like what y'all are saying, right? Don't let it just be the sole defining aspect of your being, because it's just in a yard sale one day.
Yeah, you're right.
Enjoy it.
For me, I had a ritual when Vince and his sister were little, and I knew there was something I wanted. I really wanted it, but I knew they needed things, so they became priority. Groceries became priority, and when we go shopping, I'd pick it up and I'd put it in the cart, and I'd walk around the store, and the difference was, like, Vince would go, "Get it, Dad, you deserve it." And I was like, "Yeah, but then I have to, if I take that, I got to take other things we need out of that shopping cart. You can ask Vince. Almost all the time, when it got to the register, I just set it right, up wherever there was a hand, making somebody else go put my shit.
I was about to say you're
but I would just
you're the guy. That's you.
Because it comes down to priorities and what's important, what you need. And you know what's funny? I always found it later at probably cheaper than what I would have paid if I'd have bought it right then and there. So I learned to be patient.
Yeah. It can teach you a lot for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because it does really speak to the kind of just like in the Discord somebody was talking about how kids, someone was making some snide comment about that kids these days have got 20 toys and they should be fine with 5 and all the rest of that. And like I get how that's an extremely negative comment to be made, but at the same time it's like it's almost like how much has our there's a bunch of people that want to rail on about like the evils of capitalism and all that good stuff, and I don't really care about all that discussion, but like there is something to be said about like the excesses that we have gotten to, right? And and how we have really allowed that to, like the meta conversation of this, right, is that construction went away because we became so much more of a service based and just consumer based, right, like society, that it's like that, like what kind of weird messed up stuff have we done to ourselves in terms of like psychology by shifting things the way that they have. And it's definitely a thing that this isn't the way that you would want everyone to have their wake up moment of, hey, maybe I don't actually need 30 copies of this thing, just this, that, or the other. But at the same time, maybe a silver lining out of all this insanity might be at least a little bit of a psychological check on people, of a reevaluation of what's actually important in my life, and maybe making some of those life adjustments that'll be healthy in the long term, not only for ourselves, but like we all are talking about, everybody around us, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's interesting is I find myself falling prey to like that overconsumption for sure. In a large way, I've become used to getting pretty much anything that I see that I desire. Right? I'm just like, I'm going to get it, or and I don't mean that in like I'll go broke to do it, but if I see something and I want it, I get it. Right? And that has translated to, and my mom gives me crap about this, but like I take my daughter to the store and we're looking for pretty dresses, right? She sees one pretty dress, but she sees 4 colors of the same pretty dress. And I'm like, I'm just going to buy you all 4 of these pretty dresses because they're X dollars a piece and I can afford to buy you all 4 of these pretty dresses. She's like, well, why wasn't one fine? Right.
Right.
And then I question myself of like, am I passing down the habit of being over consuming? And, I look at it through this lens of providing, because my parents, really self-made, and they gave me and my sister everything they could, much like Vince did for his kids, sacrificed of himself to make sure that they had what they wanted and what they needed and what made them happy. But they sacrificed a lot to give us our things. And I think that gave me this impression that sometimes and it is true, I think, sometimes the material is important, but it's not the most important. So I buy her, toys, and like she'll play with it for a day or two. And then the next day she's like, on to the next one. Or she's got 4 dresses. She wears 2 of them and then she forgets that they exist and we get a new dress. So like I'm recognizing the patterns in myself. And I think that, to your point, this is kind of a wake up call to some extent to like really put stock in what is the most important of these luxuries, or like the way that I provide and how I show, that, I mean, to some extent, it's an act of love, right? To buy and provide.
And we witness our parents sacrifice,
Yeah.
So we want to provide better for our children. We don't want them to ever do that. But one thing I understood is I never wanted my kids to become where they expected everything, because what it did for a while, every time we walked in the store, they were like, "Can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have that?" And I realized I was doing them a disservice,
Mm-hmm.
especially when back at home we had a closet and toy box and you name it with toys they never touched anymore. So I made a habit of, okay, you get new stuff, but twice a year we're going to go through and we're going to pull out all your old toys that you don't touch,
The
and we're going
purge.
to
Yeah, it's called the purge.
donate them over to the whatever children's charity, the woman's shelter that used to be downtown Houston, and we would take them there because they needed to go to somebody else who would appreciate them or might not ever been able to enjoy it or have those things.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to learn to let go of the things you enjoy to make room for newer things to experience and find love in.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes when you're overburdened with like your collection, you lose sight of it. Like we were talking about the whole thing about being collectors. There's a lot of guys that are shelf collectors. There's like games they just collect because they want to fill a shelf, but they don't actually go through the process of playing them. Whether that be because they don't have their systems hooked up, or I mean, even with movies, it's like me and my dad have a large movie collection because we enjoy film, and I do watch them. But and it's
just
great.
like reading. Every book I own, I've read. I've known friends that had books that they've never opened. The spine on that thing is just brand new and pristine like it was when they bought it. Mine are dog-eared. They've got bins in them. Mm-hmm. And I've given away so many books just because, I've read it, I enjoyed it. It was just not something I want to have hanging around because we all have limited space.
Yeah.
And so,
but yeah, even with Edward, we try to he's always like, I want something. Then he got to the point where he's like, he wants something just so he can get a code to put in his Roblox game, and it's like, I'm not going to support that. Yeah, you're going to use that code, but you're just buying this waste of plastic that you're going to mess with maybe once or twice. I'd rather buy him Transformers because I find him playing with my Transformers, and I'm okay with that, or my other figures. It's like, look, they're here for my enjoyment, but they're here for you to play with. You're as long as you ask me, you can play with them. Because I know he's not going to break them.
And they're going to end up his anyway.
But yeah, eventually they're going to end up his. Or when I go, Anna's supposed to take all this stuff to Rob, and he'll give her a good amount of money for it, and they can use whatever my life insurance is, and all that. Make sure I'm buried or jettisoned out into space so some alien race can find me and reanimate my body. No. But yeah. I at least have a contingency plan as far as what my collection is going to be. And a lot of people don't even think about that. They don't think about what's going to happen because tomorrow is really never guaranteed. You may not wake up tomorrow, so cherish what you have. Don't overextend yourself.
You remember when our apartment caught on fire?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was going, let's grab your TV, let's grab it. I said, I grabbed my important papers, I got my children, I got my cat, and I got my albums. And I don't care about anything else up there. It's not worth it for us to risk our lives for stuff that doesn't mean that much to it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I only grabbed, once we got the cats out, I grabbed one other thing, and that was my Chrono Trigger, because it's the only thing I care about. That's, because I can always get another Super Nintendo. But,
and it's something to sit there watching the apartment next to you just go up in flames, and it's starting to come up through your wall and going,
because some kid decided to play with some
yeah,
kid
but the point
was
it's all going to go.
The leprechauns told him to set things on fire.
Yeah.
He was playing with a candle in his bed. He said,
no, his parents' bed. Parents' bed.
Parents' bed, yeah.
So anything, guys, you want to add before we leave the episode?
Yeah, I mean, some of these topics are very deep and like kind of more in, internal and emotionally driven conversations, really practical. I think there's good advice here. And I think some people may tune into this and take it in like really, I think what we need to, it needs to be made clear that this is supposed to be a positive advice from people who've done this a long time, and a plea to, take to heart what's really important in your life and take stock of what's really important in your life. And we hope that everybody who watches and consumes this has fulfillment in their life and is able to provide for their family. And so I know that the topic can be heavy, but I think it's an important topic to talk about, honestly. So thanks whoever listened and watched. If you ever want to talk to anybody about it, personally, I'm sure you can find us all on social media, and where, we can continue the conversation.
Yeah, so that's a great point. I know that we did touch upon things that are very political right now, even though they shouldn't be. We're not afraid to discuss certain things that are going on and that could be affecting us or others we know. There's some things that were going on that affected one of my wife's coworkers. I'm not going to go into that. But part of the reason why I did this podcast was for that we could have some kind of discourse on certain things that are going on in our lives and commonality for people that need a voice to listen to help them through the darkness that they're going through. Guys, I do appreciate y'all being on this episode. Everyone, just let you know, down below in the description, there is a link to the merch shop. I have at least 2 designs at the moment. One that our buddy Stark did, and one that I have for the logo that my buddy Zip did. The Downloadable Podcast. The other one is for the, at the moment, I was going to do the Why We Collect. If you want to buy a mug or whatever to help us support the channel, it's up there. You don't have to, no obligations. But I do want to let you guys know that we do have that up now. Please check it out. But everyone, we hope you all have a wonderful week, and we'll catch you next Wednesday. Later, guys.